What is up, YouTube? Welcome back to another Play and Explain. This will be a series of microstakes starting from NL5, working our way up to NL50 and see what difference we have in the player pool, how I would change my play regarding on the stake I play. We are going to discuss rake, we are going to discuss how to exploit tendencies, what people are doing wrong in NL5 and how that's different to NL50. So be prepared for a full series of videos coming on this channel. And if you like this and want to give me some feedback of I want more, then follow the channel, drop a comment, let me know. That's the only way that I can do better content. So we are starting at NL5, see how it's going, see what kind of GTO tools I'm using, what my thinking process is about the player pool. And you can use this video effectively if you just sit down, watch it, take notes and work with me. Just laying down and watch it as a classic YouTube video won't do much for your game. So if you work with me here, take some notes, you can basically plug and play everything I say and then see how that works out for you. And then you can give me feedback. All right, let's follow up with some music for the vibes. And then we play some cards, I would say. Right, I know absolutely no one in this player pool, but we will see like if we can take notes. 19 VPIP on 2.5k hands is likely under defending, so I'm just going to open a hand I usually wouldn't open in GTO. And this is what I always do, right? You know what you want to do in GTO territory, but then you want to do something completely different when it comes to the player pool. So I'm playing close attention, I'm playing slow, and I see like who's sitting at my table and what do I want to do. By the way, if you haven't joined our Discord, we have completely free cash game channels where you can post hands, ask me and the other coaches about feedback, ask other players of your stake about feedback, discuss the player pool. And if you don't have that network yet and you don't have someone to talk hands with, this is the place to go. And I will put you the link to our Discord in the description. 23 seems kind of standard, so I'm not going to open a hand like 8-5. Against someone like 19, I would definitely consider it. Same for King 7, right? I'm just going to min raise because people are likely under defending. We pick up the free money with a hand that we should never win, but the player pool allows us to do that, right? And the key to crush those stakes basically is to find out what people allow you to get through with, right? This comes with like opening wider, stealing more blinds, 3-betting more aggressively, c-betting more aggressively as you allow to, because nobody's going to exploit you and punish you for it. We didn't have like a single good hand yet, right? I mean, this is Russian cash, come on. Lots of hands, right? There has to be something good. I'm looking at 9-7 offsuit the third time right now, I think. Maybe that's just bias. But yeah, you can play rec tables too. The difference between rec tables and Russian caches, rec tables have a little bit less variance. You can play slower, which in the beginning I think is a very, very nice thing to have. And if I should recommend something, I think I would start with rec tables. Russian cache is completely fine. For training, you play a lot of hands, you get into a lot of spots, lots of review. But if you want to move up, I think rec tables is the way to go. Ace-Jack usually can 3-bet some. If it's a tight opener like 2017, which seems like it, I would rather skip this. Because they have less folds in their range, opening not wide enough, so our 3-bet gets like less effective. So I'm going to skip this one. For sizings, on the higher stakes, I usually go like 2.4x every position and small blind 3x. Here we can like play around with it a little bit. And against a small 3-bet, our pocket pair goes nowhere. Good price. He seems tight, he or she, which is usually a good thing because if we flop a set, the payout that we get is usually pretty huge. Nothing here for us, so just folding. And you can also do some cold calling, right? Even if GTO suggests to not cold call the small blind, he's like a middle stack. He's probably not a very experienced player. So I'm just going to flick in my hand, see a flop. This will be totally fine. Ace 9. Basically against this siding I cannot fold anything, right? 4.6, I get like 2 to 1, play in position, so I'm either calling like even calling a hand like Ace 9 off here. Oh, that's a good turn. If he checks the flop, he usually sits on like ace high. People are playing very honest here, so if he has aces, he's probably always going to bet, not knowing that he has to check sometimes. So I'm gonna try to like let him hit an ace. That's a good river. Yeah, nothing we can do but just jam, make good hands. Interesting that he bets a turn that is pretty bad for his range, so I'm gonna be very careful here. Usually this just makes strength. And this is just how we lose, right? So if you get coolered like this, you make the nuts, someone makes better nuts than you. This is nothing you really need to review. And if he checks the flop and now goes like bet on a run out where I make a lot of straights, a lot of flushes, this is usually just a good hand. So don't level yourself into bluff catching here or into something something that kind of makes sense in GTO land. This is just like a straight up fold. I would even consider folding 2 pair here. This could be a range bet. Keep the game plan simple. C-betting a lot. If you're not sure what to do, I would probably always go for a small C-bet and basically see how it goes. And in the small blind, I go 3x usually, but if he's tight and I have complete trash, I just give myself a little bit of a better price to steal. Because they don't make a difference between 2.4x and 3x in defending. So you can just go very small, see if you can steal, and go from there. And also, like, number one on our notepad here is to not try to do anything like super crazy. You don't need it for these stakes. All you need to do is like be patient, make a good hand, and as you saw me, when you make a good hand, you lose to a bad hand. No, obviously you just want to make strong hands. You win a lot at showdown here. 7-5 sometimes calling, not this time, against a tight player. So yeah, if you're patient and if you like take your time, you can make good decisions and not like snap acting, right? So I'm really taking my time here, even for opening, right? I have a middle stack in the big blind, makes me open a little bit looser. I want to play against this one. Blind versus blind is a little bit tricky, but this hand usually qualifies for betting. And I want to keep my game plan easy, right? Not work with too many checks and check calling and check raising, and when it gets complicated, I just bet if I have a good hand, right? Can bet again and probably go 3 streets for value. Folding if I get raised. And you are just like patiently waiting for a good spot to happen. Here again, Jack deuce 4, nothing much happening. He's not improving too much, so this is a good hand to just bet and go from there. Yes, you can have some checks maybe and make your game plan a little bit more difficult, but I would always advise to just like, if you don't know what you're doing, the board texture is kind of dry, just c-bet, full range, go from there. If you get raised, it's just an easy fold. And also don't think like, or like don't fall in the trap of like people exploiting you, like they know you have ace high, they're just gonna raise and bluff you off. It's not going to happen. Here in this player pool, people are just playing their hands. If they show aggression, they just have a good hand. It's not that they are thinking too much about ranges, exploiting and stuff like that. So you can just like be a believer in most cases. Yeah, looks like a fold for 26. Maybe you can do something. Sushi Stealer from Japan. That's a good nickname. I like that. I like that. King 10 is not like a defend in GTO against another gun 2.6s. He's also a little bit tighter. He's actually pretty tight on this sample, so I just let it go, right? You can still play like a kind of high VPIP style, because if you are a little bit more experienced when it comes to post-flop, it's okay to add some hands to your pre-flop range because you will outplay them and win pots that you're not really supposed to win. So even running around with like 27, 28, up to 30 VPIP in this player pool would be fine. Probably not if you're just starting out. I would just play a little bit tighter and focus on your ranges and play them well before you add hands to it. Ew, 7 deuce at a bomb pot. That's a yikes. Usually this is a small bet. If you play against someone who you know is like a station or is a fish, you can just size up here and basically throw GTO out of the window. You have a good hand, you want to play a big pot. I'm going to skip this. On the 8, yes, I could do some overbetting, but usually happens when like flush draws are present and I can have more of them. So I'm going to stick with this 75 and go for 3 streets. And here on the 9-7, basically the goal is to get it to showdown for like one more bet. Maybe value bet ourselves, maybe catch the turn, and evaluate on the river. Pretty tight guy, so you can certainly flat hands like ace jack, which isn't a thing normally, but yeah, we'll call 1 and then see what the river brings. Yeah, he can certainly value bet this for more than 1 street, right? So if he flats hands that usually are like pure 3 bets, his flatting range gets a little bit stronger. He's a low VPIP guy, so you have to keep that in mind. And in this pot, I could lose more. Like I have hands like kings, queens, kings, jacks, queen X hands, right? So this is like a must bet on the river. And if they miss that, that's usually pretty good for you because you could have lost more. Here gonna go for a small overbet. Don't think Lord von Bet is ever folding an ace. Seven three is nothing. Jack 7 also nothing. And 6 deuce I also wouldn't go for it, right? Ace deuce you can make it dependent on the table. I see button is rather tight. Big blind is maybe someone I want to play with, so I'm gonna open this hand. Even if it's like, not like in all GTO ranges. 3 betting the 9s. And if I get 4 bet, I would also fold pocket 9s because in position 4 betting is just super tight on these stakes, and this will stay for a while. So you get away with like a lot of folding, and you should. I think calling pocket 9s is like burning money. It's not like they run around with like a lot of king 10 suited bluffs, a lot of ace queen off bluffs, and then even stack off with ace high sometimes. This is all not gonna happen here. So rather playing like tight, straightforward, value poker, be patient, don't have to do anything crazy to make money here. And you could also go for a 3x sizings in early position and mid positions because you have so many players behind that just have calling ranges in all positions. And to punish that, for example, the small blind cold call here, you want to punish that for having a bigger sizing. Here I just go big, have a good hand, lots of draws to charge. And basically just playing my hand. We don't give people too much credit for creative GTO-like thinking here, right? They just play their hands. King 3, obviously not a defend. I'm in position though, seeing that I'm probably having a post-flop edge, so I think I'm getting away with this. Flop absolutely nothing, so against the bet we just fold. But this is kind of what I meant, right? You can expand your ranges for preflop like a little bit, step by step, to take advantage of the post-flop mistakes that are happening. The king is a pretty good card for my range, and he's leading big into it, right? So this is basically my board from under the gun against big blind. And if people show strengths like this, I could 3-bet this sometimes. I would be like super careful. There are no natural bluffs in his range, besides maybe like something like 5-4. So ranges look really strong here, so just be tight and don't like do anything against it just because it's your board. it's very likely people are just not bluffing. Especially when they lead and donk into you in spots where you can have like all the nutted hands, all the good hands. We just believe, right? And we are not leveling ourselves. Let's see what we can do with the ace jack here. That's a win. I booked that. If I was in the big blind, king 3 definitely calling. If I not close the action, meaning this guy can still act behind me, I'm not too interested in calling this hand. But you can get away with it, especially on the button. You can get away with cold calling. This spot I wouldn't cold call. Deuces with like so many players behind. They can call all the better pocket pairs. Then you both flop a set and you're screwed. So this is not a spot you want to be in. Okay, 19 and 22 just qualifies, I think, for stealing. And if you look at the hands I'm opening from the button, you saw a lot of trash in there, right? So you can just copy that. If you have people behind like 19, 20 VPIP, they're usually just too tight. You can put this into your checking range as well if you play a strategy of big bets and checks. If I'm not sure, I'm just going to put it into bet. And here against two tight players, those small suited connectors play pretty well, especially in a 3-bet pot. So I think this is a good squeeze. This guy is basically always dead money. He seems tight. If he 4-bets, we have an easy fold. And if there's a flop that looks like this, right, then obviously we are in good shape. But also if it's like 5-4, yeah, why not for the video? Basically the thing is, if there's a low flop that doesn't give us two pair, we can still barrel with some equity, and our outs will always be clean because they don't have hands like 10-9 suited in their arsenal because they're just tight, right? So all the low flops, our range performs better if we have hands like 8-7 suited in there. Did I bet this flop? I think that's a mistake. Can't remember. Did I do? I think that's a mistake. Yeah, flop is a check. He can bluff some, and if you want to call hands on a straight board, I would fold aces, but I'm not folding hands like this that can still improve to better nuts, basically. And now let's see. Queen 7, yes. Okay, then we split. Yeah, I think this hand should never bet the turn. I have basically almost no hands that are worse that are calling. And he should definitely bluff the river, right? Because he has an advantage in the straights, in the Jack-X hands, and I don't have many, right? So the pot is often the split, and he should try to bluff me off it, just to make more money. I think that's a pretty good spot for him to bluff. 6-8-4 is pretty great in GTO land because he doesn't have many sets, but as we know in this player pool, people just like to call those. So I have to be a little bit more careful in betting and barreling. Small blind cold call is usually broadways, some pocket pairs, some suited ace-x hands that I try to make fold on the flop. Like ace-x of spades or something is folding. With the 8, do I want to bluff this? Do I ever get a jack to fold here? 10-9 is not folding. I think this isn't a great spot for bluffing. Rather realize my equity and see how it goes. Yeah, it looks a lot like maybe ace-9. Maybe Jack 10 that doesn't want to bet. I'm gonna take my short on value here. Yeah, he can bet the river with that for sure. Cold call on the button. I think we can go for one more street. 3 streets against a tight button caller is maybe a little bit too thin. Because you can have like jacks, 10s, 9s, right? So I have to be kind of precise, like what range are you value betting against. But if not sure, I will always go for the thin value bet. I think 3.5 is good. If I'm in the big blind, have a good hand, you can isolate up to like 7 or 8. And here the 9-5, I'm not snap folding, right? Because I know this guy is probably someone who overfolds, so I'm just taking my time here. Betting here, making some better ace highs fold. I can continue against check raises. In position, I can just realize my equity. Here again, 2.4, just stealing. This guy seems AFK, so calling once more. That's a good river. And this is probably thin in some kind of GTO environment, but people play so honest that he basically tells me what he has, right? So he can have a 10, he can have a 9, and he's probably never having something better. And if they do, they will let me know. Very small 3-bet. And we're a little bit deeper. Flick it in, why not? That's an above average flop, I would say. And king 6, going to check. Check, 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 check. And checking the river as well. Lots of like ace 8 offsuit, limping, king 10 also. But basically, if we have a king in our hand, bluffing with that to make them fold king high wouldn't make a lot of sense, right? Because we have a king ourselves. So we're blocking the hands that we are kind of want to make fold. And if he has king 10, he has queen 10, he has queen jack, yada, yada, yada. So yeah, I win that often enough. And you don't, like, I'm just seeing like my 31 VPIP here. You don't have to do that. It's perfectly fine to play like a tight 22 to up to 25 VPIP. And be very, very aware of what your range looks like. That's a way better approach than playing like all kinds of crazy hands where you don't really know what you're doing. Ace 4-9, when the button can flop 2 sets or more, I'm just going to range check. This looks like a board where you can see bet a lot, but if there's 2 low cards where he can make 2 sets, I'm just going to go for the check. Half pot is just good enough for me to call again, decide on the river. And now I'm just going to bluff twice. I think. Yeah, so he goes small, small, so small flop, half pot turn, bombs it on the river. Usually a sign for just strength, right? So there's no bluff catching. Because what is he going to bluff? 7-8, we have 2 8s in our hand, right? Using like the blocker theory a little bit for making a good decision, basically. And as you can see, I'm not doing anything crazy. If I have a hand like king 6 suited here, I think I want to go for the 3-bet. Really want to VPIP a lot against these players, but 9-7 just isn't playing well because they are not going to fold hands like king 9 suited or something, right? So they call king 9 suited, maybe queen 8 suited, any suited ace. So if I make my flush with 9 high, then I'm probably screwed. Tight guy, not 3-betting enough, so I'm not going to go for the ace queen bluff. Jack 3 I could also bet, both fine. And now I just try to get it to showdown. Could also bet the turn maybe. It's a little bit thin. But he has hands like king 10, 10, 9, worse ace highs. Not really any better ace highs. So yeah, for a little bit of protection, a little bit of value, and then see how it goes. Let's see, 21 seems tight. If I had king jack, I think I would 3-bet. King 6 suited, suited aces. King 10 is just a little bit blah. But basically I try to go for as much as I can. And 10-7 multi-way just plays super well, always calling. I would fold hands like Jack 8 offsuit, King 9 offsuit, because multi-way they just play absolutely horrible. And I love hands like 10-7 suited, 6-3 suited, I'm always flicking that in. And here, since I'm in the small blind and only have one player behind who seems types, I can also isolate this bigger. So I go for like 3.5 on the button, maybe 3x in the cutoff, and then in the blinds I go like really big. Here I want to make him fold hands like King Jack, Ace 10 right away, not really get floated, so I'm gonna go for a big bet, have good backdoors as well. Basically bombing my outs clean. If I make a Jack on the turn after I bet big on the flop, I'm very happy with that because he's not floating King Jack. If I bet the flop very, very small and make a pair on the turn, then I'm not really sure where I'm at, right? And I might value bet into a better hand. Oof, under the gun 4-bet, never a bluff, right? So we're just gonna stick it in. If it's aces, it's aces, but this is usually very strong range. Don't think there are 4-bet bluffs existing. Wow, I would instantly take a note, right? So for example, you can note something like this. That people are capable of 4-bet bluffing under the gun versus cutoff, right? That you are aware that he can have like good 4-bet bluffs using ace queen off or something like that. I would instantly note that. Very surprised by that. And here against the smaller stack, I would just fold these kind of hands. The ranges out of a big blind, the 3-bets are just crazy, crazy tight. And you don't want to get in with like small pocket pairs or a hand like Jack 10 suited, because against very, very tight ranges, maybe like 3% roughly, which is like Jacks plus Ace King, with your Jack 10 suited, what do you really want to hit, right? The flop comes Jack high, you get a lot of action, what you're gonna do? Are you like stacking off happily? Probably not, right? So this is kind of the trap that people are, I see, falling for a lot. Then the under the gun, the middle position against big blind 3-bet, just calling way too much. 10-5 is just garbage, even price is good. Here I would roll for it. 87, we can go for a 3-bet. And blind versus blind 3-bet pots are a little bit tricky. I cannot bet all my hands. He has lots of queen X, 10x draws. My hand will be a bad barrel on future streets as well. There are no really great turn cards that are gain a lot of equity. So I'm gonna put this into my check and bluff that later if I get the chance. Jack is pretty good for me. I have Jack X hands. I have hands like Ace King, King 9, right? So I'm gonna try now. Good thing is also that if someone calls a 3-bet out of position and checks to you twice, the chance that he is still trapping and balances his ranges with lots of strong hands that he checks twice to you is very, very unlikely. So you exploit kind of two things at the same time. A7, yes sir. Got caught. Fair enough. No shame in folding A7 offsuit. Seven. Four-bet would be kind of ugly, as we learned, yeah. And was the 4-bet, I would also just call. Playing in position, just be very tight in reacting to 4-bets. Here again, against the cold caller, out of position, I'm just going to check every flop where he can flop something good and go from there. My hand is not really good for 2 streets, I think, so I'm going to put this into check one more and try to get one on the river. And here's kind of what is your hand worth, right? You can have multiple sizings. You can have over bets, small bets, medium bets, everything. It's kind of like what is your hand worth, right? My hand is probably worth like a small to medium bet, so I'm going to go for half pot, try to get caught by a jack. And this is how you figure out a good sizing. Nothing just more than that. No solver grind, no GTO thing. It's just like plain, what is my hand worth? Can I get paid by worth? Can I make better hands fold if you're bluffing? These are the questions you should ask yourself. And I think if you work on this player pool and you want to get better, the first thing I would do is get my free course on cash games. which is a link in the description. The second one is I would just study how the player pool behaves. Where are people making mistakes, right? Are there ever, if they have top pair, is there any kind of aggression that you can show that you can make them fold, right? The answer is probably no, but this is what I would examine. Just work on player pool. What are they doing? What are they doing wrong? Where do they fold a lot? Where do they just call a lot? And then try to exploit that. 3-way with my gut shot. I'm not gonna do betting. Oof. Jack 10-9 is a tough board, right? Because there are a lot of hands in his range that already beat us. So you go for small bets and some checks. And with aces, I don't want to make the pot too big right now. Because there's a lot of runouts, and this is pretty scary. There's a lot of runouts where my hand is just not going to be good anymore. I'm gonna call one, evaluate on the turn. That's a pretty good turn. Improves my range a lot. But he will play super honest on this turn, right? So if he has me beat, he's going to tell me. He's never going to bluff, right? And now we just have an easy fold with aces, and we don't really think about it. It's not an overfold or anything. It might also be already close on the flop when he chooses that sizing. Sure, he could have ace-jack suited, but us having aces, there's only one combo left. So pretty unlikely that we are ever ahead here. And if you lose these pots, there's no reason to get tilted or to book it as a loss, kind of, or book it as a, oh, I lost that hand, that's really bad. Basically, by not stacking off and not losing your whole stack in that scenario, you are winning money that you are supposed to lose. So if people are playing very honest, they just tell you what they have and how strong they are, and you can react to that, right? And this is what I would study. Get an idea of like flops that are very good for you, flops that are very bad for you, and then you get an idea like how your overall range and certain parts of your range perform. And aces on the Jack 10-9 rainbow is not performing too well, especially when you're a little bit deeper. You need better hands to stack off. For like 100 big blinds on a Jack 4 deuce, we are always in for our whole stack, right? We just try to get the money in. Where straights and flushes and everything is possible, you want to be a little more careful and use better hands for playing for a full stack. Against these two guys, Brazil obviously always like, and this guy plays 42 VPIP, there's no reason why I should open this hand. And here again, you see a lot of cold calling, which is not really a thing. So a bigger open raise sizing with your strong hands is good. And here you can flop all sets. He can have all straights, lots of equity. So even with my queen of clubs being kind of relevant, I'm just going to be tight here and not try to be fancy and try to bluff into a range that can have all the nuts. If I want to bluff, I'm using spots where it's the other way around, where I can have all the good hands and people can't. King 3, 23 VPIP, he seems competent, so no reason to go super wide. Seven, 5, 3 competent players, probably the bottom that I'm opening. Meaning that is the worst hand I'm opening. And this is pretty interesting, right? So ace, king 5, this is my board. And I'm also blocking his best hands that he can have, ace 5 and pocket 5s. So bluffing with a 5 here is absolutely great. This is like a spot where you want to go crazy. And just, I mean, we make 2 pair on the turn anyway, but this is a spot where I would advise go mental in barreling. I'm betting my full range here, even if it's not a great texture. And I'm going to realize my equity on the turn. Because if I bet this now for, let's say, 27 or 25, I have like around 60 big blinds left. And if I get jammed on, I have to fold. And then I have a fold to over and a flush draw, which would be crazy bad. That would be like absolutely terrible. And I beat hands like king jack, king queen, right? Blocking ace 10 suited, blocking king queen, king 10 suited. This sizing I'm not too excited about. But I think this is a good bluff catcher. I have a king. Queen would be worse. We're going to find out for science. Set is good, obviously. Interesting that he puts that into the small betting, right? That's pretty good, I think. Because he thinks about like what people in this player pool usually have if I bet flop check turn. I don't have much usually. I should have some strong hands, but he's reading into that the player pool is probably not having any kind of really strong hands. So he chooses down to size small to get calls from ace king. That's really, really good. He played that really well. For this. I would check raise hands like 3-4, 5-3. Pocket 3 is not really in there because I have such a hard time to improve to a good hand. Can call one maybe, pretty close. And to be fair, I think pocket 4s against half pot bet should always fold the flop. But yeah, river sizing from him is really, really good. And if people bluffing, they probably size up a little bit. Let's see. This doesn't look like a table where I want to open pocket 3s. Button is a little bit tight, yes. These two guys seem like Rex, Brazilian. So I'm just gonna let it go. But I'm taking my time, right? Jack 9, button is even tighter. Don't know this, small also tight. So I'm just gonna open. This is how I make my decisions. Just flatting the deuces. 9-7. Betting doesn't accomplish too much. He's not calling like many worse hands. Obviously we have a lot of equity. Folding my deuces here. So I think I can go for check and then check raise. Against a delayed overbet, this is probably just always a pretty strong hand. So now I'm changing my plan and I'm not gonna like check raise bluff anything against that. Because I don't think there's any bluffs existing. We just call, try to realize. On this river, we might get a check-check, but I think this is usually a very strong range. Whoopsie doopsie, what was that? Reads absolutely not on point. And this is what I would know too, right? So you could go for delay overbet 2x spot, air, single raise spot, right? And I would note that. Like I would spend my day in this player pool just taking notes and notes and notes on the players you play like all the time, and use that against them. This is very, very unlikely this is ever like full of shit or like any kind of bluffs. So it's very, very surprising. Ace queen off 4 ways. We love it. We absolutely love it. Yeah, I think I'm gonna go for a small bet here and see how it goes, and then proceed carefully because everyone can have sets, everyone can have some good hands. Can I get my king to showdown here? Can I check call and win? I think I can squeeze out one big blind against something like queen 4, ace queen. And without a heart in my hand, I'm gonna check this turn, evaluate on the river. And if they lead big into you, I'm just folding right away. I have all the flushes. My range is completely uncapped. And I think if he just bets into me, people are usually pretty strong. So I'm gonna be a believer. What they want to achieve with that basically is that the turn doesn't go check-check. They don't want that. That's because they bet themselves. The question is, why do they want that? Probably, or very likely, because they have a good hand. Even though my reads were like absolutely off, I think for the majority of the time in the player pool, this is true. Calling 1 with my jack 4. Yeah, against pot, which is pretty polarized into like some very good hands, some very bad hands, my hand is just really good for calling. Also implies for hitting the river. We win against hands like king, queen, and here I'm just gonna fold. That's unlucky. But yeah, this is kind of why you want to call these kind of hands. You beat all bluffs, and you have decent equity to improve against a hand that's the super nuts. And again, if you have a hand here like pocket nines, I would just fold the turn, even though you're still ahead against the bluffs, but you're basically dead against any kind of value. Every paired board you can just range bet. Go from there. I think if I have a little bit of a better 10, I think betting is good. And against half pot, we just go nowhere. Price too good. If he has a jack, so be it. He basically allows us to lose less, right? We also have to call against bigger bets. So that's fine. You can also check raise the flop, which would be a good play. So yeah, that's just completely fine. Maybe playing a 3-bet pot with a 7-6. We don't. That would be a fun one. So as you can see, I'm not doing anything fancy yet. Besides opening a little bit too wide, c-betting too wide. Too wide meaning in terms of game theory, but it just works against the player pool. And this is what I would hammer in all day long. This is like your 1-2 punch line. First one being opening a lot. Second one would be c-betting a lot, just 1-2 punch. And this will do a lot for you. Cold calling the 3-bet. Lots of like queens, jacks, 10s, ace queen. Probably not ace king too much. They usually just jam. So I'm gonna go for getting like 2 streets here. I think queens go nowhere. He could have jacks, but that's just one combo. So let's see if we can get our stacks in here. Aces. Ooh, sneaky, sneaky. Oh, this doesn't look like it goes through. Fall into the trap, come on. Fall into it. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Do we just call against 15? Invite all these other players in? Sneaky, sneaky. That's a tough one to lose now. It's so unexpected. It's just a curveball. Alright, let's give this some time to think. And then we call. Punt it into us. Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, that's how we do it, right? That's how we do it. Yes. Sneaky, sneaky. 10 out of 10. Love it. The 4 is not really a great card to barrel on because he makes a lot of 2 pairs, a lot of straights. So I'm gonna try to either make a pair or bluff if he checks again. Here I'm gonna go big. If he checks like 3 times, I think my hand could be good enough to value bet against something like ace 5. I think everything that's better is just betting. So I'm gonna try to extract some value here. I think that makes a huge difference. Alright, he checks a jack. Fair enough. Fair enough. But I think he has like lots of hands that plays that way that we can get value from. He has hands like ace 4. He has hands like king 4 with the king of spades, right? He has 3x, he has 5x, he has pocket 6s, he has pocket 7s, right? So even if this looks kind of stupid, betting into a better hand, and I could just like check and not lose that small bet on the river, if you add this up, I think the hands that call the river, they're just a lot, right? There's a lot of worse hands calling the river. What is this turn card, right? We flop an open end straight flush draw, we're preparing to fire, and then we get this turn card. And now we're basically trying to get called by ace high. Pot. And I think ace king is very likely not going to fold. Here I'm folding the turn with my naked queen. Yeah, got him, got him, got him. Yeah, this is a spot. For example, if I'm working on the player pool, when I check to the river, they're sitting on ace king, ace queen all the time, and they basically never fold to a big sizing. So what I want to do is not like bluffing more, bluffing less, and then go razor thin for value with very big bets. Right? If you have deuces, a 3, a 4, any kind of pocket pair, you just go massively, charge them the maximum, and heavily underbluff this. This is a spot I would note for my overall study. 11 seems good. Again, I don't have much, but ace 9-3 is a pretty good board for me. I get a lot of snap folds from like king jack, king queen. Can barrel some turn cards. This one I don't need to barrel, I think. We beat basically everything now. Except for an ace. Flush draws, stuff like that. Small sizing in position, not setting up for stacks. Makes me believe he's on the weaker side. But weaker side could still be something like ace 10 here. We have too high, we're playing the board. Yeah, so right, sizing tail in position, not setting up for a river jam correctly. That means, not setting up means, there's less in the pot than he has behind, right? If he has a really, really good hand, he just goes big on the turn to be all in on the river, right? So if you face these small turn bets, Spidey senses should be going off a little. Oh, Jack 9, yes, GTO defend, Brazil, blah blah. This is probably the worst hand I would call. And as you can see, I'm absolutely not excited. My main bluff's coming from like Jack 10 suited. I don't have those. That's a pure 3-bet. So probably Jack 10 off, 10-9 off. And a little bit of Jack 9 off as well. Let's see. Check on this board texture is really, really, really scary. And I don't bet much on the 8. Rather split my range into check raises, check calls. And now the goal is basically to bluff him off ace high, right? He's never folding a king. My combo is not like super great for bluffing. But yeah. Not super great for bluffing because he has jacks and 9s in that line that probably fold the river. And here just like always fold these kind of hands. If you 3-bet and have like 25% of pocket 7s in there, you usually call a 4-bet, but I think these spots are heavily underbluffed. And if you don't flop a set, you're basically screwed, and you're not getting the right price. So just be tight, overfold a lot to 4-bets, 3-bet yourself rather a lot, open yourself a lot, and go from there. This end is going to fold. Bonus question, why is like 8-9 suited mostly folding a lot to 3-bets? And a hand like 7-8 suited is not, 6-7 is not, 10-9 is not, but 9-8 is a lot of folding. Any guesses? I'm gonna reveal the solution after we play this hand. 16, 12, 6. Oh boy, let's go. Here I'm gonna start bluffing with my king 7 after check, check, flop. And here I think I'm just folding, calling some better SRPs and play against a tight player. Could maybe also do some raising. 9-8 suited. The thing is, with the 9-8 suited, if you flop a straight, let's say on Queen 10 Jack, and your opponent is the 3-better, he can have all the ace kings. So whenever you flop a straight with 9-8, your opponent is enabling himself to have better straights. And you always go broke and you always lose. Cannot happen with 10-9. Cannot happen with 8-7, right? If you make a straight, you don't lose to a better straight, but 9-8 does. King-9 suited does too, obviously. So if you want to be a little bit tighter in calling 3-bets, I would start with like throwing 8-9 suited out of the window. A7, he's not full stacked, right? Let's go for this. Suited aces in 3-bet pots in position play super well. Even if this is a little bit too wide, obviously, this is just a good spot to be in. Is he capable of bluffing? Probably, so I'm gonna roll. I was going for 25%, so I need a 75, and I rolled a 74. I let that count for 4-bet bluffing. This had sometimes 4-bet bluffs. Goes through, and if people have bluffs in this player pool, or rather linear 3-bets, it's out of the small blind, because everyone, or like almost everyone, is watching a YouTube video where people say, yeah, don't call in the small blind, always play 3-bet or fold, yada yada yada. So button versus small blind 3-bet, cutoff versus small blind 3-bet, you can have some 4-bet bluffs. This will work. And then you use blockers, right? Ace queen off, ace jack off, king queen, maybe some king-9 suited, right? Pick out of that box for bluffing and don't do anything with like 10-9 or something. Wouldn't make any sense. You want to have like high cards in your range or in your 4-bet bluffing range to prevent them or make it less likely they sit on aces or ace king. Aces, oh yeah. And here we flop a set with 5s. Boom. Ah, that was close. All right, here I'm gonna go 12. Check flop is really good. They should check some overpairs here, but I don't think they do. So I can value bet my hand twice here, I think. And if this is a brick, it's easy to put us on like, yeah, jack 10, queen jack, flush draws. So I would value bet this hand twice and just go super, super thin. All right, ladies and gentlemen. 9-8 suited, we just talked about this hand. I will wrap it up for this one. Free course on cash games when you want to start out, make your first 1K, is in the description. Discord is there. Follow our Instagram where I post reels where I play way higher stakes. And all my high stakes journey is there. So drop us a follow, drop us a like, drop us a comment. And yeah, this is part 1 from the Crushing Microstakes. Thank everyone for watching. Leave me some feedback, then I can do better on my content. Much love, and see you guys soon. Cheers.